Alrighty, what's good, everyone? Welcome back. Another day, another day, another opportunity to learn. I'm not gonna waste any time. Let's get right into it. Unfortunately, don't have my coffee with me today. It's a little bit too late in the day. Not trying to be up all night, but of course, I have my curiosity with me. So, without further ado, let's get into the Japanese portion of the day. So we're gonna review some katakana. All right, settings, focus review. See if we can review these last 24 words, ideally, or last 24 letters. Ideally, it'll let us, but whether that's reality remains to be seen. All right. Oh, I am reviewing the wrong thing. All right, we're actually gonna review hiragana. So chu is going to be this one right here. Chi plus yu. Pyo is going to be this guy right here. I want to say it's ru. Cool. Nice. And ma is going to be this guy right here. 100%. Only 4 questions, so take it with a grain of salt. As we get a rare Mona Lisa pull. Very, very cool. Alright, we're going to do some more review of hiragana. I'm going to actually put in my other earbud right quick. Alrighty. Chu is going to be this guy right here. I feel like we just did this one. Go is going to be that guy right there. Ju is going to be G plus U right there. I believe that is ne. Okay, it's wa. O is right there. Pya, or biat rather. Hyo right there. Ki is going to be that guy right there. Ooh, okay. Alrighty, we got this one, I believe, is going to be Zol. We've got So. Alright, this one's going to be Beep. Sha is going to be She plus Ya. Nyo. This one's going to be Da. Mo is going to be, I believe, this guy right there. Lovely. Za is going to be that guy. A is right there. Pyu right there. Bu. Ha. Alright, this one is going to be Bu, as in Majin Buu. We got Get, which is going to be that guy right there. Ta is going to be that guy right there. Ba. Pa, rather. Ga is going to be right there. Do is right there. Nyo right there. I believe this is net. Okay, right. I gotta get my ne versus re down pat. Something to work on for sure. Alright, we got Cho. Ya. Sa. Du slash Zu. Ryu. Tap. Ryu. Alright, this one's going to be Gyu. Ma. This one is going to be Gyo. This is the N. Gi. Alright, we only missed 2, not bad. I believe we said this is Ri. Okay, it's Wa. And this one is Ri. Okay. Wow. Definitely got to get our Ri versus Wa. Oh, we can evolve them. Let's go. Very cool. Very cool. Alright, we're going to tap the gotcha machine, of course. Can't forget that. As we get a rare chicken pull. Pretty cool. All right, I'm gonna focus review again, which would tell me what terms I still need to review, but it's all good. Boop, right there. Boop. This is bia. Chu is gonna be right there. Ko. Te. U. Su. Da is gonna be right there. I believe that is ha. No, ho. Okay. Ta. A. I. Do. I believe we said this is re. Right there. Za. We've got heat. Sa. Ha. So, I believe is that guy. Nice. No, right there. We got neat. I believe that's this guy right there. Very cool. U is gonna be right there. Cap. Nu is right there. Nice. Kyo. Ka. Net. Real is right there. We've got Ki. Ma is gonna be right there. And Ma, we got any chicken. Hia is right there. New is going to be right there. Mu. Mi. Yo. Mio right there. Pa is gonna be right there. Pu right there. And I believe this to be roll. Wow. The last one. That's so tough. Root. You hate to see it. Oh, is it Saturn? No, it's Jupiter. Is what? Mokosai? I don't know. Let me go back to the home page and see how. I'm gonna actually flip my phone over so I'm not tempted to look at it. Let's see. I wish there was a way I could view returns to review here. But moving on, we're gonna review some katakana real quick. Focus review, size 40, cool deal. Ooh. Whoa. Mo, okay. Wa is gonna be this guy. Cool. Nice. Oh. Ha. Ru. Nu. Ta is gonna be, let's see here. That guy. Cool. Tsu is gonna be, I think, this one. Nice. To is right there. This one is heat. Ho is going to be this guy right there. Za. Alright, this one is going to be, I think this is Walt. Nice. Because it looks like elevator doors. B is going to be this guy right there. Yo is going to be this one. Because yo, why is that E backwards? Bolt is going to be, I believe that to be that guy. Nice. This one is going to be Rot. Nice. G right there. Oh, I believe that's N. Rat. Ooh. Ooh. Dolt is going to be that guy right there. Se right there. Bet. Geet. Ya. Pet. Zu is going to be this guy right there. I believe this is chi, but with the quotation marks, it's going to make it D/G. Ho is going to be right there because it's like a corner. Ze, ma, right there. Da, a. This one is going to be bet, ge. Okay, noted. This one is ge, ga. Oof, I'm folding hard right now. No. All right. This one is going to be da. Ugh. All right, we've got ga. This one is going to be mo. And then last but not least, we have get. All right, 93%. Not bad, but we can obviously do better. I don't even know what this is. Suyashi, I think. Yasushi. One of those two. All right. Settings, focused review, quiz size 40. All right, we've got da, ze, no, chi is gonna be that guy. Ku, te, ri, bo is going to be right there. I believe this to be get. Su, he, D/G, a, nu, because it looks like the number 7. This one is ket, n, o, ya, ki, ba, gu, wo, tu. This one is going to be na, ta, yu, et, a, wa, that guy. Wu is going to be, let's see. Oh, okay. Nice. All right, ni is going to be right there. U, I, mi, ma, bo. Oh, go. Okay, noted. All right, we got se. Zu is going to be right there. And ze. Za. Sheesh. I'm folding hard right now. This one is going to be de. All right, only missed 2, not bad. I believe that goal. And this one is going to be za. Nice. Okay. All right, let's tap the gacha machine, roll the dice. Shizen. I think that's what that is. Pretty cool. I really wish we could more adequately set our review. What about lowest mastery? Let's do that. All right, that is Su. Nice. This one is going to be za, ze, yo, gi, beat. Wa is gonna be right there. I believe this to be the N. Ba is gonna be right there. Ra is, I think this one. Nice. Do. Nice. Zu right there. Bet. No. Yeah. No. Nah. Cool. Matt is gonna be that one right there. This one. Ooh, cool. Rope. G right there. Zo is going to be that one. Nice. All right. D/G. Bolt right there. Ne. You. Mo. Bu. Da. Ra. Go. Wo. Mu is right there because it looks like it's making a muscle. Cheat. De is gonna be that one. Meat. Ha right there. U is going to be right there. Ga. To. Re. Get. And then last, certainly not least, root. All right, we just perfected that shit. Let's go. Pardon my French. Take a victory swig of water. Alrighty. Alright, now let's go into words. We're going to study. Okay, we're going to get these ones out of the way first. Genki, lively. Hot, warm. Is that, let's see. Atsui. Is that what that is? Very cool.
暑い
Atsui. Student is going to be. This is what? Gakusei. Ko. Kuruma. Ashita. I believe it's this one.
学生
Gakusei. Anata is going to be. You.
あなた
Alright. Then famous, well known. I believe this to be Yume. If I remember correctly. Right there.
有名
Yume. Very cool. Let's get the gotcha machine. What is this? Haruno. Harunocha. Something like that. Alright, we're gonna go. What is this? Words for Japanese basic view terms. We're just gonna see how many terms we have. 29. So we're gonna study. Where's words? Words. Okay. Quiz size 29. Genki. Right there. Amerikajin, American person. Koko. Company employee. This is going to be. Nichi. Okay, it's not Nichiobi. It's not Kore. It must be. It's not this one. Wait. Kaishain. It might actually be Kaishain.
会社員
Kaishain. Okay. We've got Isogashi. I believe this to be busy.
忙しい
Isogashi. This is sushi. Nihonjin. Right there. Yasui. Right there. You is going to be anata.
あなた、
Anata. Duyobi. I believe that is Saturday. Nice.
土曜日、
Duyobi. Isha, doctor. This one is Kore. Kind, gentle, considerate. Shinsetsu. Yume. Or no, Takai. Takai. Alright, we have Hansamu. Alright, we have Shiken is going to be exam.
試験、
Ken. Difficult Muzukashi right there. Atsui is going to be, I believe it's cheap. No, okay, it's hot. That's right.
暑い、
Atsui is hot. Gakusai is going to be, I believe we said that was the student. Nice.
学生、
Very cool. We have Kyo. I believe that is that today?
Cool. 今
Kyo. All right. Karuma. Car. Shout out GTA. Room. Chamber. Let's see. Hima. No. Was this Heya? There we go. That's what it was.
日、部屋、
Heya. Ashta is tomorrow because it sounds like Asta and Hasta la Vista. Oh man. I am tired today. We have Hima. I believe that is spare time.
暇、
Hima. Alright, pen is right there. And Pitsu is pencil. Sunday is that Duyobi? Right there? No.
日曜日、
Nichiobi. Okay, that's right. Alright, we have Oishi.
おいしい、
Oishi. Famous, well known as Yume. Right there.
有名、
Yume. Alright. Atsui is going to be hot.
暑い、
Atsui. Alright, moving on. Sunday is going to be Nichiobi. Right there. Cool.
日曜日、
Very cool. And tap the gacha machine real quick. The Eclipse. Shout out Berserk. Very cool. This is going to be Nitsu Shoko. Nitsu Shoko? Maybe. Maybe not. Who knows? Alright. So let me go over to YouTube. I think we're going to get some sentence structure work here. Japanese sentence structure. Alrighty. What are we trying to watch? Let's see. Let's watch this one. This one.
Basic Japanese sentence structure.
It's pretty
using
interesting.
Samui, cold. Level 1. So in Japanese, you only need one word to make a complete sentence. Let's say you wake up in the morning, you go outside, and it's cold. You'd say, Samui. It's cold.
Samui.
That's it. I didn't shorten anything. I didn't omit anything. It's a full, complete sentence. From here, you can add more information and nuances. Level 2, I'm gonna add this word, めっちゃ, which is a casual colloquial way of saying very. So you would say, めっちゃ寒い.
Mecha
It's very
samui.
cold. Pretty simple. There's many ways of saying very depending on your personality, where you're from, or generation. You can say すごい, which is colloquial, or すごく, which is more formal. And if you want to try Y2K fashion, you should say マジ, like マジ寒い, which was pretty popular in the 90s and early 2000s. So many choices. Level 3, I'm gonna add 今日, today, and say 今日めっちゃ寒い. It's
Ooh,
very
mecha
cool
sumui.
today. But here's the thing. I added 今日 even if I didn't have to. And if I add something when I don't have to, maybe there's a reason. For example, maybe I was thinking about today like a bright new day where I can
that's
do
beautiful.
so much stuff like watching educational videos for research purposes. So adding something is adding nuances. Level 4. Now I'm gonna use the particle は and say 今日はめっちゃ寒い.
Yo wa mecha
It's
sumui.
very cold today. Now, what is typically called a topic marker, but it does much more than just introducing a topic. For example, in this case, it kind of highlights kyo, possibly because it wasn't cold yesterday, and I want to emphasize the contrast. But there's other possible interpretations depending on the context and the speaker's intention. Here I'm explaining natural native Japanese, which might be different from textbook versions of Japanese, which are often simplified for learning purposes. But real-life Japanese is complex and full of nuances and ambiguity. Which, by the way, doesn't mean textbooks are inherently bad. They have their own places, like they're useful for not incurring
Experience
the
is the
wrath of
best
green
teacher.
owl. But if you want to
Essentially what he's
understand
getting
the
at.
complexity, ambiguity, and the nuances of real-life Japanese, I will teach you natural native Japanese that real-life Japanese people today speak to each other. So click the link and subscribe to my email group, Japanese with Yuta. Level 5, using
Oh, it
this.
was a jump scare.
So let's say you're at work and your coworker asks you if it's cold today. You might say, 今日はめっちゃ寒いです. It's very cold today. So we typically use desu with strangers, people who are older than us, and often coworkers. So by adding desu to plain Japanese, I'm kind of acknowledging the hierarchy, distance, or the relationships. Level
Interesting.
6,
So desu is
using
formal,
the sentence ending particle.
from what it seems like.
So let's say you're at work and you see your coworker trying to go outside only wearing a t-shirt. And since you're a very nice person and you want to save your coworker from hypothermia because it's not very fun to die, you would say, 今日はめっちゃ寒いですよ. It's very cold today. And particles like yo add some nuances and make the sentence conversational. We often use yo to tell somebody something that they might not know. So maybe you're telling your coworker because they don't know, or maybe you're just reminding them. Level 7, adding だから because. And I'm also going to use 12月 December. I can say
12月
12月だから今日はめっちゃ寒いですよ. It's cold today because it's December. You know, Japanese people be too busy working to notice that it's already a new month. You want me to say it faster? もう12月だから今日はめっちゃ寒いですよ.
Oh,
This is a
you
pretty
picked up the
long
pace
sentence.
on
It's
us.
pretty amazing that you can understand this kind of sentence in a short amount of time. And here comes level 8, word order. Some people say Japanese word order is reversed because if you map the words in the original sentence in the translation,
Subject comes
it does
first.
seem reversed. But from Japanese people's perspective, English sentences are reversed because Japanese word order is clearly the right order. It's like in English, the conclusion comes first. It's cold today because it's December. But in Japanese, extra information comes first. もう12月だから because it's December. But here's the thing. In conversation, we often say something like this. めっちゃ寒いですよ. もう12月だから. And it's kind of like English. It's pretty common in conversation and it's completely natural. But in formal writing, we might just write 今日は12月だからすごく寒い. Something like that. Because how we write Japanese can be very different from how we speak Japanese. And natural spoken Japanese is not widely
I'm
used.
yawning a
You're
shit
gonna learn
ton.
how we actually
What?
speak Japanese.
What an absence of coffee does
I
to
will
a man.
teach you the kind of Japanese that real-life Japanese people today actually speak to communicate with each other. Because textbook Japanese can sound very unnatural and non-native like in real life. So
All right, very cool. Gonna light that shiz up, and then we're going to. Saw this one. This Japanese grammar lesson sentence structure. I kind of want to click it because of Star Wars, but then I see it's 8 years old. I kind of want something more recent because I feel like as times change, it's best to kind of stick to videos. They're more recent, so you can stick with more recent trends, so to speak. All right, let's see. We're gonna go. Let's watch this one.
Hey guys, I'm Tetsu. I'm pretty sure when you started learning Japanese, you had a lot of sounds like des and mas all the time. Can you tell the difference between them? If you're not sure, don't worry. In this video, I'll explain the difference between des and mas with the simplest explanation, okay? Let's go. In this video, I'll only use present tense sentences in Japanese. This is because you might get confused when the form and meaning change depend on the tense, right? And I'll explain past and future sentences in future videos, okay? So first of all, des and mas are not used all the time. They're used in formal or polite sentences called keigo, like when you talk to people who are older than you or strangers to show respect. We don't really use keigo with friends or family members, just like people who are close to you. So remember, des and mas are used in polite sentence, keigo, and they always come at the end of the sentence. So, what is des? Des is used when referring to a state of being something. That means the sentence is talking about a state
Was
or
present
feeling,
tense,
not
I'd
an
assume.
action. It's used with adjectives or nouns. So like in English, it would be I'm handsome, or you're beautiful, or this car is cool, right? In all of those, the sentence is not doing something, it's just being something. Let's take a look at some examples, okay? Tetsu sensei wa Nihonjin desu. So Tetsu sensei, Tetsu teacher, subject, wa topic marker, Nihonjin, Japanese, noun. This sentence is being something. So it's saying Tetsu sensei is in a state of being Japanese. Another example, sushi wa oishii desu.
I agree.
Sushi is delicious. Sushi, sushi. Wa topic marker.
Sushi wa-
Oishii, delicious.
Sushi wa oishii
adjective.
desu.
Again, the sentence is just being
That might be my
something.
favorite
So
sentence.
Sushi is being
I love
delicious,
sushi.
right? That's what this
Sushi wa
does.
oishii
It
desu.
finished a sentence that describes a state or feeling. But here's something important. Some expressions in English are verbs, but in Japanese, they're not verbs. Let's look at the word like. In English, you say, I like sushi. But in Japanese, you can't say, watashi wa sushi o suki suru. It doesn't work. Because in Japanese, like is not a verb. We use the word ski, which is a
Skeet?
feeling or state,
Oh, ski.
not an action. It's an adjective. So we say, watashi wa sushi ga suki desu. This sentence
Watashi
is
wa
also being something.
something.
It's like saying, I feel like that I like sushi.
Something.
Or
Let me back up
we
actually.
say, watashi wa sushi ga suki desu. This sentence
Watashi wa
is also
sushi
being
wa
something.
suki
It's like
desu.
saying, I feel like that I like sushi. Or sushi is something I like. It's how I feel. I know this translation is a little bit weird, but it's the closest nuance of this sentence in English. Again, we use des, not mas, because it's not an action, it's feeling. Same with want. Watashi wa pen ga hoshii desu. I want a pen. Hoshii means want, but
Hoshi.
it's actually an adjective in Japanese. We're talking about state, so we use this. So make
So it's
sure
like
to
you're
understand
wanting
Japanese as Japanese
if it's
and
present
try
tense.
to avoid translating every word into your native language.
Maybe.
The easiest way to do this is by understanding the words or sentences with image, just like what I usually do. Okay, then what about must? Must is used when referring to a state of doing something. So, it's about action. That means the sentence is talking about something you do. So they end with a verb. It's similar to sentences like I play baseball. For example, 散歩に行きます. 散歩 walk.
散歩に
Ni direction marker. 行く go verb. Right? Another example. アニメを見ます. I watch anime.
アニメを
Anime.
見ます.
O direction.
Oh, we got
object
Luffy
marker.
right there. Cool.
見る watch. Verb.
Miru.
Right? That's it. Easy, right? And here's one more thing to remember. If the subject is clear, or if you mention it at the beginning like 私は something, you don't have to repeat it every time. Like 私は Especially in casual speaking, we don't keep saying 私は something, 私は something, 私は something over and over again. Because it sounds a bit annoying and unnatural. So you don't have to mention the subject every time. And one thing you should always remember is the most important part of the sentence, like the state or the action, always comes at the end. So you can't cut the part off. Alright, let's look at recap. So, des is used for states or feelings, not actions. It comes after nouns or adjectives. Example, 私は寿司が好きです。
私は
I like sushi.
寿司は
Must is used for
好きです。
action, something you do. It comes after verbs. Example, アニメを見ます. I watch anime. Both des and must are used in polite sentences. 敬語. We usually use them when talking to people we don't know well, or people older than us, to show respect. In Japanese, the important part always comes last, and you don't always need to say the subject. Okay? That's it for today's lesson. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.
Alright. Let's give Big Homie a like. Gotta help that algorithm as much as we can. And we're gonna get into our learning portion of the day. Not learning. I'm saying the whole thing is learning.
25 years ago, I was learning Chinese.
We're gonna get into our listening practice of the day. That's what I was looking for. Let's do rice fields in June. Looks very
皆さん、こんにちは。
very ambient and peaceful.
田んぼの水がどこから来るのか。それと、畳と梅の話です。ぜひ楽しんでみてください。散歩をしていたら、田んぼに水が入ってきていました。
It's interesting how rice is grown.
この水がどこから来ているのか気に
They
な
have
り
like
ま
a
せん
pretty
か？
sophisticated irrigation system, it would seem.
ここは空いていません。向こうの方から水が入ってきていそうです。見に行ってみましょう。あの穴はこの
Oh,
田んぼ
excuse
に
me.
水を入れるところですね。さっきの田んぼはあそこから水が入るんですね。水は上の田んぼから下の田んぼに
Hanbo.
流れてきます。
Paddy field. Very cool.
ここは
Hanbo.
草が生えています。今年は田んぼにしないのかもしれません。でも、ここまで水が来てますね。この田んぼを通して下の田んぼに水を送るんだと思います。2箇所水の動きが見えます。上の水がここを通ってここから地面の下を通って
Kokokara? You're
こ
from
の田んぼに流れています。あそこに 保育園の子たちがいます。農業の体験に来たんだと思い
Will
ま
they get
す。
the children practiced in
こっちの
agriculture
田んぼ
early?
は水が入っています。という
Nice
ことは
contrast from over here because I feel like you don't really start like exploring like agriculture and stuff unless you like take a class in like high school or something.
もうすぐ田植えです。田植えというのは田んぼに稲を植えることです。稲にお米ができます。こんなに狭い場所も田んぼにするんですね。水が流れています。この水は川に流れますが、
I got it.
パイプに
Stream.
入っています。
An interesting pipe setup they got
こ
there.
のパイプの先に何があるのか見に行ってみましょう。あそこまで続いてますね。ここの階段から行けそうです。パイプの終わりに水が溜まっています。これがここに出てきています。ここからこの辺の田んぼに水を流していそうです。ではさっきの橋に戻ります。今度は川の横を登っていってみます。あっちの田んぼはあそこから水を入れますよね。その水はどこから来ているんでしょうか。
Mizu is water.
見に
Very
行って
cool.
みましょう。山の中に立っているあの白いもの、何だと思いますか？前にあそこに行った動画があるので、ぜひ見てみてください。公園でグランドゴルフをしている人たちがい
I
ま
didn't know they
す。
play golf over there. Pretty
グラン
rad.
ドゴルフはシニアに人気のあるスポーツです。この
I
橋
wonder
を
if they have any
渡
really
りま
nice
す。
golf courses over there, like we
こ
have an
の田ん
abundance
ぼ
of
は
over here.
ここから水が来ています。そしてこの水が下の田んぼに流れていきそうですね。道が濡れています。こっちも前は田んぼだったんだと思います。今は誰も使っていません。日本で農業をしているのは主にシニアの人たちです。年を取ったり病気になったりして農業ができなくなると、田んぼや畑がこうなってしまいます。今こういう土地が増えています。道に出ました。水路を追いかけましょう。ここで水の流れが見
They
え
have
なくな
very
って
sophisticated irrigation systems.
道
I
の
notice.
反対側の水路に出てきていました。そのまま下に流れていき
So
ま
no
す。
mama, as is.
ここにも別の流れが来ています。 これはここを通ってあそこから来てますね。これは多分川を渡ってすぐに見た水路だと思います。
River to cross.
この田んぼがさっき川の向こうから見た田んぼです。カラスが何か食べましたよ。何を食べたんでしょうね。この田んぼの水はさっき見た水路から来てますね。この袋をどかすと
Alright, I'm gonna stop the Japanese session there. I'm gonna go fill up some water, use the bathroom, and I'll be back for our math section. So, yeah, I'm gonna take 5. Be right back. Alright, and I'm back. I see I have a bot message right there. Yeah. Don't appreciate the bot messages for sure. But all good. Alright, Khan Academy. All roads lead to Khan Academy. Let's go to derivatives. Keep learning here. Alright.
A secant line intersects the curve y is equal to 2x squared plus 1 at 2 points with x coordinates 4 and 4 plus h, where h does not equal 0. What is the slope of the secant line in
Sounds
terms
kind
of
of complicated.
h? Your answer must be fully expanded and simplified. So we know the 2 points that are on the secant line. It might not be obvious from how
4,
they
4
wrote it.
plus
Let's make a
h.
little table here to make that a little bit clearer. So we have x, and then we have y, which is equal to 2x squared plus 1. And so we know that when x is equal to 4, well, what is y going to be equal to? Well, it's going to be 2 times 4 squared plus 1.
33.
Which is the same thing as 2 times 16 plus 1, which is the same thing as 32 plus 1. So it is going to be 33. 33. And what about when x is equal to 4 plus h? 4 plus h? Well, it's going to be 2 times 4 plus h squared plus 1. Well, that's going to be 2 times, let's see, 4 plus h squared is going to be 16 plus 2 times 4h, so it's going to be 8h plus h squared. And then we have our plus 1
A little
still.
quadratic
If we
there.
distribute the 2, that's going to get us to 32 plus 16h plus 2h squared plus 1. And then we add the 32 to the 1. And actually, I'm going to switch the order a little bit, so I have the highest degree term first. So it's going to be 2h squared plus 16h. And then plus 32 plus 1 is 33. And so we have these 2 points. We have one point, 4 comma 33. And we have the other point, 4 plus h comma 2h squared plus 16h plus 33. And we just have to find the slope between these 2 points because the secant line contains both of these points. So how do we find the slope of a line? Well, we do a change in y over change in x. So what's our change in y? Well, if we view this as the end point and this is the starting point, our change in y is going to be this minus that. So it's going to be 2h squared plus 16h plus 33 minus 33. Minus 33, those two are going to cancel each other out. And then over, what's our change in x? Well, if
Over
we ended at
h.
4 plus h, but then we started
And
at
then
4,
you can
it's gonna be 4 plus
simplify.
h minus 4. 4 plus h
You
minus
get
4.
2h
These
plus
two cancel
16.
each other, and we are left with 2h squared plus 16h over h. Over h. Well, we can divide everything in the numerator and the denominator by h, and what are we going to get? This is going to be 1, that's just a 1, and so this is just an h. So we have 2h plus 16 over 1, or just 2h plus 16, and we're done. This is the slope of the secant line in terms of h. And once again, we just have to think about, well, the secant line contains the points 4 comma f of 4, or 2 times 4 squared plus 1 right over here, and then 4, well, I didn't call this f of x, but I think you get the idea. And then when x is 4 plus h, well, this is going to be y, and we just found the slope between these 2 points.
Cool. All right, moving on.
The secant line intersects the graph of f of x is equal to x squared plus 5x at 2 points with x coordinates 3 and t, where t does not equal 3. What is the slope of the secant line in terms of t? Your answer must be fully expanded and simplified. And my apologies ahead of time if I'm a little out of breath. I just tried to do some exercises in my office to get some blood moving, and I think I'm still a little out of breath. But anyway, so we want to find the slope
Nice,
of the
dude.
secant line, and they essentially give us 2 points in the secant line. They tell us what x is at each of those 2 points, and then if we know what x is, we're able to figure out what f of x is at each of those points. So we can make a little table here. We know x, and we know f of x. So when x is equal to 3, what is f of x? Well, it's going to be 3 squared plus 5 times 3.
9 plus 15,
Well, this is going to be
24.
9 plus 15, which is 24. So this is going to be 24. And when x is equal to t, what is f of t? Well, it is going to
squared plus
be
5t.
t squared plus 5t. And so we have 2 points now that are on this line. This is the secant line. It intersects our function twice, so it has these 2 points on it. And so we just have to find our change in y between these 2 points, change in y, and our change in x, change in x. And I'm assuming that y is equal to f of x. So our slope of our secant line is change in y over change in x. Our change in y, if we view this as our end point, the second one with the t's in as our end point, it's going to be that minus that. So it's going to be t squared plus 5t minus 24. And then in our denominator, our ending x minus our
T
starting
minus
x is going to
3.
be t minus 3. Now they tell us our answer must be fully expanded and simplified. So maybe there's a way to
So I'd assume you factor the top, and then you can cancel out a t minus 3, and by t minus 3, yeah, because it's probably going to be t minus 3, t plus 7?
simplify
Okay,
this a
cool.
little bit. Let's see. Can I factor the top
Easy.
into something that involves a t
Need
minus
a challenge,
3?
cell.
All right. So in the numerator, let's see. Negative 3 times positive 8 is negative 24. Negative 3 plus positive 8 is 5. So we can rewrite this
Oh,
as
wait, 8.
t plus
I
8
don't know why I said 7.
times t minus 3. And so we could say this is going to be equal to, if we cancel out the t minus 3s, or we divide the numerator and the denominator by t minus 3, it's going to be equal to t plus 8. Now, if we wanted to be really strict, mathematically strict,
T equals negative
this
8.
expression isn't exactly the same as our original expression right over here. What makes them different? Well, they're going to be true for all t's except where t equals 3. this thing right over here is defined at t equals 3. In fact, when t equals 3, this expression is equal to 11. But this thing up here was not defined at t equals 3. So if you wanted to be particular about it, if you want this expression to be the exact same thing, you would say for t does not equal 3. Now this can take the same inputs as this one right over there. But I guess they're assuming where t does not equal 3. So this you could view this as maybe a little bit redundant. But this would be this is the slope of the secant line in terms of t.
All right. Well, now we got to try our best and replicate that perfection right there. All right. I'm going to pull up Paint. You guys are going to see some lovely handwriting as always. That, I guess. Okay. All right. So this example should be just like the last one. So we have x. Oh, good Lord. My handwriting. It was off to a decent start with that x. F. F of x. Okay. And then for our x equals 3. Y is going to equal, is that 24? 15 plus 9, 24. Okay, and then t, that's going to be t squared plus 5t. Oh my goodness, my handwriting is going on. All right, and then so t squared plus 5t. Let me see if I can. I kind of want to lower my DPI on my mouse, but I don't really want to do all that. Minus 24 over t minus 3. I believe this is just the exact same problem as he just listed. All right. So then this factors to what? T plus 8 t minus 3 over t minus 3. So we get t plus 8. So t plus 8 would be the slope of the secant line. Okay, cool. I think that literally was the exact example he used, but gotta count our freebies, count our blessings. New, save, okay. F of x equals x squared plus 3x plus 2. What is the average rate of change of f over the interval -1? Okay. I'm not even sure we really talked about average rate of change like that. But good. So since this is an interval form, I assume that these are both x values, especially given those brackets. So we're just gonna plug and play. Put so -1 plus h squared. Okay, actually, let me actually try and have good penmanship here. Squared plus 3 negative 1 plus h plus 2. All right. So we have h squared. Would that just be h squared minus 1? Maybe. And minus 3. I don't know. I'm a little bit confuzzled here, but it's all good. Gotta get comfortable being uncomfortable. I'm gonna plug in this first one. Actually, let me finish doing this just in case. Gotta follow through. H squared minus 1 minus 3 plus 3h. Yeah, I probably am gonna have to change my DPI. 3h plus 2. So we get h squared plus 3h h squared plus 3h minus 2. H squared plus 3h minus 2. And then for the first one, 1 minus 3 plus 2. It's going to be 0. I don't think this is about to be right, but we're going to try our best anyways. H squared minus h squared plus 3h minus 2. Alright, we're actually gonna just, okay, f of b minus f of a over b minus a. So the function of b, which is that, minus, I think we said that was going to, of a would be 0, minus 0 over b minus a. Would that just be 1? No. I might actually be straight up cooked here. H plus 1. Yeah, he kind of just threw us for a loop here. H plus 1. Okay. All right. Back in familiar territory. I was a little bit confused there. The important part is we tried our best. Don't save. Okay. Y equals x squared minus 3x of x, and then x. We have 5. And we have t. 5 squared 25. 25 minus 15 is going to be 10. And then t squared minus t squared minus 3 e, and then we're going to do t squared minus 3t plus 10 over t minus 5. And then we're going to have t minus 5, t plus 2. So t plus 2 should be our answer. Nice. Okay. There's the average rate of change of f over the interval. See, I don't like that it's pulling this average rate of change bullshit over on us without like showing us how to do it. It's a little bit annoying, but you know, we'll power through. So let me should be able to do this though, I think. Don't save. So I think it said B. Was it B minus A over B minus A? I don't even remember. So 1 or f of B minus f of A over f of B minus f of A, something like that. So we got h plus 1 squared minus 2 h 2 h plus 1 minus 1 minus, okay, 1 minus 2 minus 1 would be negative 2. I'm going to put that over is f of B minus f of A over B minus A, I think. So over h plus 1 minus 1 okay, so should cancel these two out right here, and then get, bring this up, we'll get a new denominator or a new fraction, negative 1. Then we have h plus 1 minus 2h minus 2 minus 1 minus 2 negative 5. So you get negative h negative h minus 4 over 1 over negative 1. 1 over negative h minus 4. Show steps. Let's see what we get, because I'm obviously not doing this shit right. Okay, we get h on the bottom. How do we get h on the bottom? H plus 1. Okay. Damn, I fucked that up so bad. Okay. So over h. All right. Not one of our finest moments. This is major L. It's okay though. Challenging problem, as in the other ones weren't challenging. That's kind of crazy. How long is this?
Consider the
6 minutes. I think we might leave this for tomorrow. Kind of tired, so I'm gonna hop into some YouTube, and we're gonna do. There I am right there. We are going to do. Let's watch this.
In the dead of
New
night,
tab.
a whisper slices through the air, unseen and
All right, and then we're gonna do this little C++ thing after. Might have mathed a little too hard there. Kind of started breaking my brain. I was doing
unheard.
stupid shit.
It penetrates the world's most sophisticated air defenses.
Ooh, let me get
This
off.
Phantom can deliver a payload powerful enough to alter the course of history, yet remain as elusive as a shadow. At $2 billion per aircraft, it's the most expensive plane ever built. How does a 50-meter wide giant become invisible to radar? And why does it look like it flew straight out of a sci-fi movie? Hey,
Thing looks
I'm
like a
your
Call
host,
of Duty
Regis,
kill
and
streak. Why are we?
today,
Okay.
we're diving into the secrets of the B-2 Spirit, the stealth bomber that revolutionized aerial warfare. From its Cold War origins to its cutting-edge technology, we'll discover how this ghostly giant changed the game of global security. The year is 1975. The Cold War is at its frostiest, and the game of nuclear chess between the United States and the Soviet Union is reaching a critical point. Picture this: squadrons of massive B-52 bombers poised on alert at strategic air bases, each loaded with enough firepower to level entire cities. These massive aircraft were constantly kept flying or on high alert, ready to get airborne at a moment's notice, forming a critical part of America's nuclear deterrent. Flying out of Shepherd Air Force Base in Texas, the routes varied by year, but in general, there were routes that went to positions over the Canadian Arctic, Alaska, Greenland, and the Mediterranean Sea. But there's a problem. The Soviets have been busy. They've developed air defense systems so advanced that they could swap these flying fortresses out of the sky like flies. As one Air Force general put it, sending B-52s into Soviet airspace would be like throwing a rock at a hornet's nest while wearing a bright red target on your chest. So what do you do when your unstoppable force is starting to encounter an immovable object in the form of an even stronger defense? You change the game entirely. Enter the Advanced Technology Bomber Program, or ATB. The goal? Create a bomber that could slip past Soviet defenses like a ghost, delivering its payload before the enemy even knew it was there. It was kind of like trying to build an invisible elephant, a seemingly impossible task that had engineers scratching their heads. But this wasn't just about maintaining military superiority. It was about preserving the delicate balance of power that kept the Cold War from turning hot. You see, the whole concept of nuclear deterrence relied on the ability to strike back if attacked. If the Soviets thought that they could neutralize America's bomber fleet, the risk of a first strike increased dramatically. Now, little did anyone know, the solution to this problem had actually already been dreamed up decades earlier, and then quite literally smashed to pieces. Let's rewind the clock back to 1946. World War II has just ended, and while most of America is focused on building cars and suburban houses, one man is obsessed with a different kind of construction. His name, Jack Northrop, and his vision, the flying wing. Imagine an aircraft that's all wing. No fuselage, no tail, just one sweeping aerodynamic
Dude was a visionary.
shape. It looked like something out of a sci-fi magazine, but Northrop was convinced it was the future of aviation. In 1947, Northrop's dream actually took flight in the form of the YB-49, a massive jet-powered flying wing with a 50-meter wingspan. It was very ahead of its time, but there was a problem. Without modern computers to help control it, the YB-49 was about as stable as a unicycle on a tightrope. The Air Force wasn't impressed, and in a decision that must have felt like a gut punch to Northrop, they ordered all YB-49s destroyed in 1949. Yeah, you heard me right. These flying wings were all destroyed, which gives you an insight into the aggressive research and development approach of the United States Department of Defense. But here's where things get interesting. Let's fast forward again back to 1978. The Air Force initiates the ATB program, looking for a bomber that can penetrate the most heavily defended airspace undetected. And who wins the contract? Well, none other than Northrop Corporation. It's like the flying wing rose from the ashes, ready for its second act. This time armed with decades of technological advancement and a blank check from the US government, Northrop was poised to turn the impossible into reality. But how exactly do you make a 100-ton aircraft with a wingspan that's as wide as a football field invisible to radar? Well, that's where things get really interesting. Okay, first things first, we have got to talk about that iconic shape. The B-2 looks like it flew straight out of a sci-fi movie.
Yeah, it looks
and
pretty
there's
insane.
good reason for that. The B-2s are Jack Northrop's flying wing concept from the 1940s cranked up to 11. But this isn't just about looking cool.
Maybe we got this
Every
design from
curve
the
and
Area
angle of this
51
bad boy
aliens. Who
serves a
knows?
purpose. You see, unlike conventional aircraft with their distinct fuselages and tails, the B-2 is essentially one continuous wing. This shape does two crucial things. It gives the B-2 an incredibly low radar cross-section, that's stealth speak for really hard to spot, and it also provides excellent aerodynamic efficiency, crucial for an aircraft designed to fly halfway around the world without breaking a sweat. Now, let's zoom in on the B-2's materials that give it its stealth capabilities. The real magic happens on the surface. The B-2 skin is coated with top-secret radar-absorbent materials. These aren't your average paints. They're specially designed to absorb radar energy rather than reflect it. It's kind of like the B-2 is wearing an invisibility cloak. A cloak made of materials so classified, I'd probably disappear if I told you about them. As you can see in this radar cross-section diagram, even the way the B-2 is built contributes to its stealthiness. The aircraft's skin is made up of large, smooth panels with minimal seams, because every edge, every corner, every tiny imperfection could potentially reflect radar waves. Think of the B-2's exterior like a sleek sports car. No rough edges, no sharp corners. Just, if that sports car was the size
Shit's
of
like
a
a-
warehouse
like a
and
Hawk
tried
or
really
something.
hard to avoid getting spotted by speeding cameras. Anyway, here's where things get really tricky. As we already mentioned, flying wings are not very stable. Without a tail, they tend to yaw and pitch, which basically means they just kind of tilt to the sides. To solve this, the B-2 used a fly-by-wire system, which is so advanced that it's the literal definition of top secret. This computer-controlled system makes constant adjustments to the aircraft's control surfaces, keeping it stable in flight. It's so sophisticated that the B-2 can pull off maneuvers that would be unthinkable for a plane this size. Imagine you're a radar operator and suddenly your screen just goes blank. Well, that's the Spirit in action. The B-2 packs 4 General Electric F-118 GE100 turbofans, but good luck spotting them. These things are buried deep within the aircraft's body, with the intakes cleverly hidden on top of the wing. Why? Well, because nothing says, "Hey, I'm a plane," quite like a radar beam bouncing off a shiny engine fan blade. The exhaust is cooled and spread over a wide area at the rear of the aircraft, minimizing its infrared signature. It's kind of like the B-2 is tiptoeing through the sky, trying not to leave any footprints. The airframe is made primarily of carbon graphite composite materials, lightweight, strong, and about as radar transparent as you can get without being physically invisible. The aircraft was built in separate sections, then assembled with the precision of a Swiss watchmaker. One tiny misalignment and boom, suddenly you've got a multi-billion-dollar radar reflector instead of a stealth bomber. When the B-2 was finally unveiled on November 22nd, 1988, it was kind of like showing the world a glimpse of the future. As it rolled out of its hangar, you can almost hear the collective jaws hitting the floor. This was an aircraft that looked like it had been beamed down from a sci-fi movie, ready to rewrite the rules of aerial warfare. The technological array packed into this flying wonder was nothing short of awe-inspiring. With over 130 onboard computers controlling every element of the aircraft, the B-2 wasn't just ahead of its time, it was in a time of its own. It
I think
combined
this
a
is pretty
variety
clean,
of
I'm not gonna
techniques to
lie.
achieve its near invisibility. Its shape-confused radar, its materials absorbed radar energy, and its electronic countermeasures jammed enemy detection systems. This graph dramatically illustrates the B-2's radar signature compared to conventional aircraft. The result? An aircraft with a radar cross-section 1,000 times smaller than that of the B-52, which on a radar screen would be kind of like trying to spot a pigeon. When the B-2 made its maiden flight on July 17, 1989, it proved that all this fancy engineering wasn't just theoretical. This thing could fly, and fly well. It was the culmination of decades of work, from Jack Northrop's early experiments to the cutting-edge technology of the 1980s. The B-2 Spirit wasn't just a new aircraft. It was a revolution in aviation, a flying testament to human ingenuity and perseverance. Now, let's talk about the capabilities and performance that this beast has, because in addition to stealth, the B-2 Spirit is a highly capable asset made to carry out missions deep in hostile
I'd
territory.
imagine if I had to
First up,
guess
let's
that
talk
we have
everyone's
even
favorite,
more advanced
payload.
planes than
It
this
can
thing
carry 20 tons of
at
bombs.
this point,
Basically,
given that
imagine
this was made in
squeezing
like
10
1988.
sedans into its belly. And we're not talking about just conventional bombs here. The B-2 is part of America's nuclear deterrent strategy. For your everyday, non-apocalyptic missions, the B-2 can carry up to 80 500-pound
Sheesh.
GPS-guided bombs. That's precision strikes on 80 different targets in one single sortie. Or if you're feeling a little bit more ambitious, let's say, it can deploy specialized weapons, like the GBU-57 Massive Ordnance Penetrator. At 15 tons, this bunker buster is basically a small
Lord.
building that you can drop on other buildings. Kind of like the Air Force's way of saying, we don't care how deep you dig, we can still reach you. But here's where things get really impressive. The B-2's range. On a single tank of gas, this thing can fly over 11,000 kilometers. That's like flying from New York to Moscow and still having enough fuel left to circle the Red Square a few times. And with aerial refueling, its range is basically anywhere on Earth. It's the kind of plane that can show up uninvited to a party halfway around the world and still
Self-sufficient
leave
fuel
before
is
anyone
crazy.
notices. Now, you might be thinking, sure, it can go far, but is it fast? Well, at high altitudes, the B-2 cruises at about 901 kilometers per hour. That's not breaking any speed records, but remember, this is a bomber, not a fighter jet. It's more about the slow, silent approach than the flashy flyby. Plus, it can reach altitudes of 50,000 feet. That's almost higher than Mount Everest times 2. It's operated by a crew of 2. A pilot and a mission commander. And these folks aren't just flying. They're managing a suite of state-of-the-art avionics and mission planning systems that are so advanced they're in a league of their own. And get this, if GPS goes down, the B-2 can navigate using the stars. The B-2 can operate in all weather conditions, day or night. Its advanced radar system, which has been very controversial, allows it to perform terrain forming and terrain avoidance maneuvers automatically. But how much does it cost to have this kind of bomber in your fleet? Each B-2 costs about $2 billion per aircraft, which is more than the entire GDP of some small countries. That's billion with a B. To put that into perspective, you could buy about 5,000 average American homes for the price of one B-2. So why is it so expensive? Well, it's a perfect storm of costly factors. For starters, the technology is cutting edge. We're talking materials and systems that probably won't be declassified until our grandkids are old enough to vote. Then there's the exclusivity factor. Only 21 have ever been built. Maintenance is another budget buster. That radar-absorbing skin, well, it needs to be reapplied regularly. And let's not forget about the constant upgrades. The B2 of today is far more advanced than the one that rolled out back in the 80s. It somehow managed to age forward, getting younger and more capable. But is it worth it?
Aging like
That's the
fine wine.
multi-billion-dollar question. Supporters argue that the B2's unique capabilities justify the cost. After all, how do you put a price tag on the ability to strike anywhere on the Earth without being detected? But even stealth aircraft can't hide from aging. The Air Force is already eyeing its replacement, the B-21 Raider, the next evolution of stealth technology. The B-21 Raider is to play multiple roles as an intercontinental strategic bomber and intelligence collection hub, hooked up to a larger network to make it the first
I swear, these
sixth-generation
look more
aircraft
and more
of
like
its kind.
UFOs, man.
It's meant to be smaller, more affordable, and easier to maintain than its predecessor, which would allow manufacturing a much larger fleet. So, what do you think about the B-2 bomber? And would you like to learn more about the new advanced B-21 Raider? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you love learning about projects that push the limits of technology, make sure that you're subscribed to MegaBuilds. As always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.
Pretty entertaining, very informative. Hit him with a little like button. And yeah, so we're gonna get into C++.
Now going forward,
Pick up
I
where
want
we
to
left
change
off
the colors
yesterday.
here, and I wanted to show you how to do that because a lot of people ask me about the themes I use in my videos. If you're not using CLion, feel free to move on to the next lesson.
Okay.
So, on the top, we go to the Preferences menu. Now, let me give you a quick overview of how I've structured this course so you can get the most out of it. This course is the first part of my complete C++ series. Each part is about 3 to 4 hours long, so you can easily complete it in a day or two. In the first part, which is the one you're watching, we explore the basics. In this part, you will learn the fundamentals of programming in C++, data types, decision-making statements, loops, and functions. Now, throughout the course, I'm going to give you plenty of exercises to help you develop your.
So my plan is to kind of use this as like a dip your toes in sort of deal. I'm gonna try and do some research in my free time to try and see if I can find like an online course that has some structure as well. Where I'm obviously gonna try and do some of the exercises that he recommends live, and y'all are gonna see the failures and everything, because you know, I think people try and hide their failures, but honestly, your failures end up making the success. So it's all part of the process.
Problem-solving skills and build your confidence in writing code. In fact, many of these exercises are popular interview questions. In the second part, we'll explore intermediate level concepts such as arrays, pointers, strings, structures, enumerations, and streams. And finally, in the last part, we'll be talking about the advanced concepts such as classes, exceptions, templates, containers, and more. So by the end of this series, you will have a solid understanding of C++ and you'll be ready to apply it in real life. For example, if you want to build games with Unreal Engine, which is a popular gaming engine, you will have the necessary C++ skills to build games. You just need to learn about Unreal Engine. So I hope you'll stick around and master C++, one of the fastest and most efficient programming languages available. Hey guys, Mosh here. I just wanted to say that you don't really have to memorize anything in this course. I've put together a complete cheat sheet and
nice.
summary notes for you
Very
that you
helpful.
can download as a PDF right below this video. So click the link in the description to download this PDF. So I have done my best to create the simplest C++ tutorial for you. So if you enjoy this, please support my hard work by liking and sharing this video. And also be sure to subscribe as I upload new videos all the time. Welcome back to the
The
Ultimate
editing
C++
in this is pretty
course.
nice as well.
In this section, we're going to talk about the basics of C++. We'll cover variables and constants, naming conventions, coding mathematical expressions, writing to and reading from the console, working with the standard library and comments. So by the end of this section, you'll be able to write simple but really useful programs in C++. Now, let's jump in and get started. Alright, let's talk about variables. In programming, we use variables to temporarily store data in the computer's memory. Now, technically, a variable is the name of a location in memory where we can store some value. Now, because the value can change, we refer to this location as a variable. Now, to declare a variable in C++, first we have to specify the type of data we want to store. Let's say int or integer for storing whole numbers. Then we give our variable a proper, meaningful name, like file size. Now, there are various ways to name our variables. We have various conventions. We'll talk about them momentarily. Once we declare a variable, then we terminate this statement with a semicolon. Now, I want to emphasize that you should always use meaningful names for your variables. Don't use abbreviations like FS.
So wait, I'm going to rewind this because it doesn't really make sense to me.
Now,
why we would use int, because integers are, int typically stands for integer, and integers are typically whole numbers.
To declare a variable in C++, first we have to specify the type of data we want to store. Let's say int or integer for storing whole numbers. Then we give our variable a proper, meaningful name, like file size.
Oh, I see. Okay. So file size is kind of the classification, but anything that follows int is going to be like deduced. Like, all right, let me figure out English real quick. So we're using int because file size is going to be stored in terms of whole numbers. And if we were going to do something that would be stored not using whole numbers, we wouldn't use int.
Various ways to name our variables. We have various conventions. We'll talk about them.
That kind of sounded like a little bit redundant when I said it, but it helped me make sense of it
momentarily. Once we declare a variable, then we terminate this statement with a semicolon. Now, I want to emphasize that you should always use meaningful names for your variables. Don't use abbreviations like FS because someone else reading this code may not know what FS is short for. Also, don't go for names like F1 or F2 or thing. These are all cryptic and ambiguous, okay? So we're going to call this file size, and then we can give it a value like 100. So we assign it the value of 100. Now here we can combine these two statements into a single statement, and that makes our code shorter and more concise. So right here, where we declare our variable, we can give it an initial value of 100. This is called initializing a variable. Now we don't need the second line. Okay. Now let's declare another variable for storing numbers with a decimal point. For that, we're going to use a different data type that is double. We're going to talk about different data types in the next section. So in this section, we're only going to work with integers and doubles. Now we're going to call this sales and initialize it to 9.99. Okay. Now that we have two variables, we can print them on the console. So instead of hello world, let's print file size. Run our program. We see 100. Beautiful. Now, while initializing variables is not mandatory, it's a good practice to follow. Let's see what happens if we don't initialize file size and print it on the terminal. Well, immediately we see this warning. Let's take a look. The warning is saying variable file size is uninitialized when used here. Initialize local variable file size. So our IDE is complaining that we are using a variable that doesn't have an initial value. Let's run our program and see what happens. Take a look.
Whoa.
Look, we get this random value, and if we run our program multiple times, we see a completely different value. This is what we call garbage. This is the data that is currently in memory.
So this is trash.
As a best practice, we should always initialize our variables before using them. So I'm going to set this to an initial value of 0. Now, in languages like C# or Java, we don't have to do this. If we declare an integer, it automatically gets initialized to 0. but this is not how it works in C++, okay? So this is how we can declare and initialize variables. And by the way, we can also initialize multiple variables on the same line. So over here, we can declare a second integer. Let's call that counter. So we add a comma and then declare counter, and optionally, we can initialize it to some value. Now, while this works, it's often discouraged. As a best practice, we should declare each variable on a separate line. So I'm going to remove this and declare another integer like this. Okay? Now I have a small exercise for you. I want you to write code to swap the value of two variables. This is a common interview question, so let me explain what I mean. We're going to declare two variables, A and B.
All right, let me pull up VS Code real quick. Virtual Studio. Not done. Swear. Yes. Damn apps. Oh, okay. That's PowerShell. Damn, what the hell? Microsoft Virtual Apps. VS Code. Well, I guess it just, guess I didn't download VS Code. Huh. We go here, VS Code. Download. Alright, we're installing. I'm just gonna watch the video.
Now if we print
And we can
A,
use our
we're going to
imaginations
see
to
1
follow
on the
along.
terminal,
Because
right?
I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to
Now
set up
here's
some
what I
other
want you to do.
stuff. And
Over here,
yeah.
I want you to write code to swap the value of these variables. So when we print A, we see 2, and when we print B, we see 1.
Would you do int b equals a and then int a equals b?
Now, I don't want you to reset these variables, so I don't want you to set A to 2 and B to 1. This is not the right solution. Let me give you a hint. Imagine instead of these two variables, we have two buckets. The first bucket is filled with apples. The second bucket is filled with oranges. Now, if we have these two buckets in real life, how can we swap their content? Think of a solution and then use that idea to write code to swap the value of these variables. It's not that difficult. Just spend a couple minutes on this and then come back see my solution.
This is not normal. But who wants to be normal when you can be
Okay,
part
choose my
of
theme.
something special?
Hey,
Choose dark modern.
Boost Mobile has the new iPhone
Okay.
16e. It lets you clean up photos with Apple Intelligence.
Give us the phone back.
Get the new iPhone 16e for $49.99 when you switch. Visit your nearest Boost Mobile store.
So to solve this problem in real life, we need a third bucket. First, we empty our apples bucket into this bucket. Now the apples bucket is empty, so we can move the content of the oranges bucket here. Now the oranges bucket is empty, so we can move the content of the third bucket into this bucket. Now we have swapped the content of our buckets, right? So let's use this idea to solve
So
this
int
exercise.
c.
We declare a third variable we can call a temp, and we initialize it with what we have in A, that is the value of 1. Now we can set A to B, so whatever we have in B, which is 2, is now going to be in A. And finally, we're going to set B to temp, so B is going to be 1. So now, if we print A, we're going to see 2 instead of 1. Let's verify this. So let's run our program. There you go. Beautiful. So this was your first programming problem. If you got stuck, don't worry. It's completely normal. As we go through the course, I'm going to give you more and more exercises to help you build your confidence. Next, we're going to talk about constants. There are situations where we don't want the value of a variable to change. This is where we use constants. Here's an example. Let's declare a variable of type double and call it pi and set it to 3.14. Now, with this, we can calculate the area of a circle, right? But what if somewhere in our program, I accidentally set pi to a different value, like 0? With this, our calculations are going to go wrong, right?
So it'd be 0.
This is where we can use a constant to prevent the value of pi from changing. How do we do that? Very easy. We type the const keyword before declaring this variable. Now look, on line 5, we have a red underline. That is a compilation error. So if you hover our mouse here, we see the error saying cannot assign to variable pi with const qualified type const double. And also, if we try to run our program, here in the terminal window, we see an error. So take a look. This is the error. The error is happening in main.cpp on line 5 in column 8. And here's the actual error. Cannot assign to variable pi with const qualified type. Okay? So this will prevent us from accidentally modifying the value of this variable, or more accurately, constant.
Okay.
Now let's talk about naming conventions. So we have different conventions for naming our variables and constants, and different teams prefer different conventions. So there is really no right or wrong here. But let me show you the popular conventions. So earlier we declared a variable called file size. The way we name this variable follows what we call the snake case. So with this convention, we have to use lowercase letters to name our variables and constants. And if we have multiple words, we should separate them using an underscore. Now we have another convention called Pascal case, in which we should capitalize the first letter of every word. So the same variable using Pascal case looks like this. This is Pascal case. And by the way, the text that I put here that starts with 2 forward slashes, this is called a comment. We'll talk about comments later in this section, but for now, just remember that comments are a way to describe our code. They don't get compiled, okay? Now we have another convention that is similar to Pascal case. The only difference is that the first letter of the first word should be lowercase. So file size. This is camel case. We also have Hungarian notation, which is a pretty old notation and it's
Hungarian
not relevant anymore.
notation.
With Hungarian notation,
I
we
wonder
should
where it
prefix
originated from.
the name of our variables with a letter that specifies their type. So here we have an integer, so we use a lowercase I and then file size, just like Pascal case. This is called Hungarian notation. Now, quite frankly, this is a very old notation. It's not relevant anymore, but I still see people using it. I've seen it a lot in Windows source code. The reason this is not relevant anymore is because in the old days, we didn't have good editors. So if we declared a variable somewhere and we wanted to know its type, we had to scroll up to find the type of that variable. So with Hungarian notation, we could look at a variable and immediately tell its type. But this is not the case anymore because these days we have powerful editors. If we simply hover our mouse over any variable, we can see its type. So here you can see file size is an integer variable, right? So these are the popular conventions out there. In this course, I'm going to use camel case for naming our variables and constants, and Pascal case for naming our classes. We'll talk about classes later in the course. Now, if you don't like these conventions and prefer to use snake case, that's totally fine, but make sure to stick to your own convention. The more consistent your code is, the easier it is to read, understand, and maintain it. Next, we're going to talk about mathematical expressions.
All right, I'm going to add this video to watch later right here because that looks interesting. And 12 million views in 4 months is quite successful, so probably a good read or good watch. Yeah, that's probably going to do it for today. Pretty tired. Was debating not doing this, but I'm happy I did. You know, even if the quality of the learning session isn't there, just getting out and putting in the work, putting in the the time and the effort, it shows up in the end. You know, that's one thing I've learned about as a commonality across all life is that just showing up day in, day out, not just showing up, but I mean, like, in and of itself, it's something that pays dividends. So yeah. And if you don't show up for yourself, no one will. So with all that yapping out of the way, thank you for tuning in. Remember to show up for yourself and, you know, do whatever you put your mind to. Anyway, without further ado, have a good one.